I've always felt that Man of Steel is a great comic book and superhero movie, but it's a bad Superman movie. Here's 4 pretty simple changes to turn Man of Steel into a more classic Superman film that almost everyone would be happy with. Point 1. Colors and the suit. Man of Steel has a very desaturated color palette that makes everything look muted, muddy, and kinda ugly. While this is just a creative and stylistic choice, I actually think this should be used almost as a part of the story. This is Superman in the real world, and the world can be bleak and hopeless, so Superman should naturally be a complete contrast to that. Superman is the beacon of hope, the light in the darkness, and his bright and colourful suit should stand out in direct contrast to the desaturated world. As the film goes on, colour slowly comes back into the world, to represent the hope that Superman is giving to the world. Point 2. Unwavering belief in good. Clark should always have a strong belief in the goodness of people, including himself, and this belief should be unwavering. Here's 3 examples of this. This belief in good is instilled in him by the Kents at a young age. There's a now infamous conversation between Jonathan and Clark, where Jonathan questions whether Clark should have risked exposing his secret to rescue the school bus. Now, while I don't mind the idea that Jonathan has doubts about this, he shouldn't reveal these doubts to Clark. To Clark's face, Jonathan should say, "Of course you did the right thing in saving those children," while in a private conversation later on with Martha, Jonathan expresses those doubts. It's been said before, but Jonathan's death in Man of Steel is stupid. Don't get me wrong, I genuinely believe that Jonathan would sacrifice himself to protect Clark's secret, but I don't believe that Clark would just watch on when he could save him. Clark Kent would never put his own safety ahead of saving a life, especially not that of his own father. Jonathan has instilled that belief in good and always doing the right thing into Clark. The importance of Jonathan not passing on his doubts and cynicism to Clark is shown here. Clark defies Jonathan and saves his father's life because he doesn't have the same cynical viewpoint that Jonathan does. Under no circumstances should Superman kill. That even applies to a madman such as General Zod. Now you may say, what choice did Superman have? And you're right, he had no choice, but only because the writers wrote him into a corner with no other option. Earlier in the film, while Clark is learning about his Kryptonian heritage, you should subtly set up a way in which Clark can send Zod back to the Phantom Zone. It may sound convenient, but I think it will lead to greater payoff in the sequel when people ask, can we trust Superman considering he spared this madman who happens to be a fellow Kryptonian? Point 3. Saving civilians. This is a pretty simple one. Show Superman saving civilians. Zod is supposed to be struggling with these overwhelming new powers, and him being able to control this in a few seconds is ridiculous. So while Zod is constantly struggling with that, Superman has greater control of his abilities, but is hampered by his need to protect the people of Metropolis. Point 4. John Williams score. Another simple one here, give us the classic John Williams theme. Hans Zimmer's Man of Steel theme is great and should definitely be this movie's theme, but much like 007 has the Bond theme and each film has its own score, that should always be the same for Superman. There's a great video on YouTube that shows how epic combining both scores can be for the iconic first flight scene. These basic changes could really make Man of Steel feel more like a classic Superman film, and sets up my version of Batman vs Superman where Batman is the villain. If you want to see that video, hit subscribe and leave a comment down below.